Hey, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Mark Burik, and today we have another special dual podcast. So, if you're listening on Entrepreneur Athlete, where we help sport and fitness business owners get better and make better decisions, you're in for a treat. If you're here for the Better at Beach Volleyball podcast, then we're going to be talking to one of the most powerful and influential YouTube owners and managers and persons in the volleyball world. He has a fantastic YouTube channel. I know that he's got adult leagues, and he is at this point a master of ads and affiliate marketing and tournament and league organization and coaching and everything else. So I want to bring him on. I want to pick his brain for an hour. You guys are in for a treat if you want to learn how to do any of that, from YouTube channels to leagues and tournaments and everything in between. So Donny Hoey of Elevate Yourself. What's up, man?
What's up? Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. We talked, was it 4 years ago now?
I think it was right before the pandemic, like 1 or 2 years before that.
And at
And
that
you
point,
you just cold DM'd me, and it was awesome.
yeah, I'd put up, I don't know, 2 or 3 videos, and I was like, man, you're crushing this YouTube thing. I wanted to learn from you, and I learned a lot from you then. And now we're 4 years later, and we're moving. Our YouTube channel has picked up. It's nowhere near as successful as yours, but we're still proud of it. And I think with today's environment, where it seems like everybody now is calling themselves a content creator or a YouTube or a TikToker. I don't know if it's become more competitive, or if you feel like you were the first to the game, or one of the first to the game, so you have this massive advantage. But the first thing that I do want to cover for everybody who's new is, tell us about all parts of your volleyball business before we start, and of course where people can find it so that they can get more.
For sure. Well, thanks for the flattering intro. Like I think we just hit 600,000 subscribers, and
Oh,
it's been crazy. Like to me, when I remember one of my staff members said, "Hey man, congratulations on 600,000." And I think I'm just so used to just focusing on what I'm doing at the moment. And I just still feel like a regular guy that's just loving volleyball and trying to spread the volleyball love, that I forget to take myself out of those moments to kind of appreciate the big picture. Um, so I think a big part of how everything started was just, ever since I was a kid, if I had a great idea, I had to share it with somebody. And I'm not naturally very extroverted. Like if I had a choice, I would just rather spend a lot of time by myself or with one or two people. And so for me to choose a career as a high school teacher first, and then a volleyball coach, and then now content creator, doing all these things that are more, I guess, outwardly social, has been a really interesting evolution. And but I know that that was the only way I was able to get the message out about how to get better at volleyball, how to love the game more, and most importantly, how to be a good person while doing the whole thing. And like for me, I was very fortunate that I had a lot of mentors um, in my volleyball journey and my sports journey. And I always knew that if I ever had that position of influence to mentor other people or to teach other people, I wanted to pass that on, because I was naturally not very athletic. And I always appreciated when my instructors, who were either fourth degree black belts, or even talking to Karch Karai, like I had a chance to talk to Karch for 15 minutes, and he just was so present, like, and read pretty. They look you in the eye, and you are equal to them for a moment. Obviously, not in accolades and performance, but you're equal to them in a moment. I want to do that for as many people as I could through my channel. So, to answer your question for Elevate Yourself, it first started off just as a private coaching business. So I've always, my parents, they helped me with some tuition stuff. I lived at home, but the bigger picture for my dad was that he always wanted to make sure that I was able to support myself at a very young age. So I think when I was in sixth grade, I stopped receiving any allowance, and he told me, get a job. And I said, well, I'm not old enough to get a job, but I found ways. So I cut hair, I taught drum lessons, I sold my drawings. I used to draw a lot. So just a lot of different ways. So that entrepreneurial spirit, I can thank my dad. My dad's an entrepreneur as well. So I think seeing what it was like for someone to not fear failure and just move on to the next project was really important for me. And then for him, quote unquote, depriving me of allowance forced me to adapt, and I had to hustle to make money. So yeah, going into college, living at home, paying for part of my tuition, I had to make sure I had a job. So I worked at um, like Sunglass Hut and just your everyday jobs, but on the side, I always had a hustle. So I taught drum lessons still. I did jump training for a little bit. I was a personal trainer and I did volleyball lessons. And then the volleyball lessons and the personal training started to pick up more. And I realized that that's what I was much more passionate about. And I didn't have an official business name at the time. I was just a volleyball coach and a jump training specialist that wanted to help people to get better. I actually trained people for free for like over a year at the gym.
Whoa.
Like people would see me dunk on a basketball court for my training, or
How
see me
tall are
do
you?
these high box jumps. What was
How
that?
tall are you?
5'10".
Oh man, just getting up there and mashing. That's sick.
Yeah,
Can you teach me how
it
to
took me
dunk? I
six.
would like some of that.
How tall are you, Mark? Are you like 6'2"?
Six two and a half. Thank you.
6'2.5". Okay. Oh, definitely. And you got all that sand training, so. But yeah, that was, it was a lot of people seeing me do things and then asking me, how do you do that?
Mm.
And I was just always happy to help people. And then some person who got a lot of free advice from me eventually said, dude, you need to start charging me. I said, I guess I could do that. And then so that's kind of how it started. And then as my kind of middle college, towards the end of my college, when I had to think about my future and where I was going to get more sustainable income,
Wait, this
teaching,
is not even out of college yet. You're doing jump training and lessons
yeah,
and personal
yeah,
training.
yeah.
Dang.
So I went to a local university, and that was one of the best decisions I made on accident. Because for me, growing up, I people always talked about having the college experience, whatever, partying, joining frats, and whatever. In the beginning, I thought I wanted that, but I'm glad I didn't, because living at home was boring and lonely as hell. Right, all my friends are having the blast, and
We come back on
going on all these
Thanksgiving.
dates and all these
You get
parties.
them for Wednesday
Yeah,
before Thanksgiving,
yeah,
and then bye.
exactly. And then here I am. I come home from school. I'm like, great, what do I do? So you just have all this extra time, but all the extra time just gave me more time to build my business and my hobbies, and explore other areas of myself. So by the time I was in college, I was maybe giving like 4 or 5 training sessions a week to clients and building that up and coaching a lot. So I had a chance to really develop that early. So by the time I graduated, I was doing maybe 10 privates per week,
Great.
for that. And then as I decided to start formalizing it, I was like, well, maybe I should come up with a business name. And that was probably the most difficult part of the journey. Actually, I'm curious, how did you come up with Better at Beach?
Uh, Volley Camp Hermosa was the original.
I
So
remember. Yeah.
um, I worked with a guy. He he was trying to make me the head coach, but it didn't work out because it was in Europe and I was in the U.S. and I was like, I kind of want to compete here. But that was beach camp, and then he turned that into Volley Tours, which is one of the most successful beach volleyball vacation companies over in Europe. I'm just praying that he never tries to come here, or when he does, he remembers that we're friends. um, and he was helping me one night when I was like on my way back to the US, and he just made some logos and everything. I was like, we want it to know that it's a volleyball. We want it to know that it's a camp and specific to Hermosa. And so we just kind of came up with Volley Camp Hermosa. And then a few years later, I was like, we have to grow, because when I started talking to all those business people about scale, how do you grow? How do you do this? I knew that we could make people better. Here's what I got sick of, really. It maybe wasn't like as, what do you call it, benevolent as you. I got sick of answering the same questions all the time,
Oh, yeah.
and I was just like, forget it. I'm putting this on YouTube so that I never ever have to answer it again. And that's what I thought would
Yes.
happen. That is not what happened. Uh, uh, so I started putting those things out on YouTube, and I go, we need to definitely be more global. And I also got a bunch of phone calls about people who wanted to camp, like with tents
Mm.
in Hermosa. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay. So uh, I don't really know how we came up with it. The logo took me weeks of back and
I
forth,
bet.
but somebody who
Yeah.
had done hundreds of logos, he was just like, Mark, here's the thing. You need to decide by today. Here's my recommendation. I love this, and let's be done with it because you need to move on with your business. So I was thankful for him. But Better at Beach was just, it just flowed so
Yeah.
nice.
It's a great name.
Yeah, and it's there was no other discussion other than that's a nice name, Better at Beach.
Yeah.
Do I wish we had done Better at Beach volleyball for our SEO on our website? Maybe, but then I kept having to say better at beachvolleyball.com, and I was like, God, I can't
Mm.
stand these extra three syllables. So
Yeah.
so we just enter volleyball on everything that we write, and it does the same thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, like even BAB, that's just is simpler. Like if you want to change it to the acronym or
Yeah. Yeah, we call
yeah,
our
it's a
our
great name.
campers babbers, so it's there's a bunch of
There
cool
you go.
stuff that's coming out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get made fun of at every tournament we play. Somebody gets a spike on me and they're like, "I'm better at beach." I'm like, "Haha, thank you for promoting me while beating me."
Oh man, that's gotta get old at real quick. But you have still have to laugh at it.
Yeah, if so long as they say it loud enough so that everybody could hear it,
There you
then I'm
go.
good with it.
There you go. So yeah, the name took probably like 3 months, and I really
Wow.
thank my brother who really affirmed me in my entrepreneurial spirit. So coming from like a middle class, upper middle class East Asian background in the Bay Area, majority of my family members are tech, like engineers, software
Mm.
developers, or in medical. And so I always felt that looming pressure, but because my brother and my dad, they really encouraged me to pursue whatever business idea I always had. And when my brother was trying to help me figure out the name, he always asked me like, what's the bigger vision? Like you got to think bigger than just volleyball, because if it's just volleyball, that's fine, but it sounds like you want to do something more with that. And for me, I always felt like volleyball and training and drum lessons and whatever I was teaching at the time was always just a language through which I could empower people to become the best versions of themselves.
Mm.
And for me, I was obsessed with jump training at the time, coaching, and I just felt like elevate yourself was one way to communicate that not only are you jumping higher, but you're improving anything you're working at, but specifically who you are as a person. So to me, I always found it very gratifying when you have that light bulb of like, wow, I just achieved something I didn't think was possible. And I'm sure you see that so often, when you coach camps, and it's life changing for a lot of people. For me, it was definitely life changing. So that kind of started off just as a private coaching business. And then similar to what your reason for creating a YouTube channel, it was just to supplement my clients because when I would write them programs, I didn't want to always have to answer questions
Mm.
and 100 emails of like how low should I go in a squat? Like my knees, they're not whatever angle. How do I improve my ankle mobility? So I just created a lot of jump training tutorials in the beginning so that I would just send them links and I would give them a library as part of my program and say, make sure you watch these videos first for reference before asking me a question. And then that started
So
picking up
smart.
some traction. And then I would include me playing volleyball as ways to improve mechanics, like jumping mechanics. And then somehow people started requesting like, hey, well, can you teach me how to spike then? I was like, sure. So then I started creating these tutorials just to help people. It was just for fun. Like I had no idea that you could monetize YouTube at the time.
Oh, you
And
started
then once I
okay.
had a nice
So you didn't know that you
yeah,
could monetize. You were just doing it as a value add for your training clients,
yeah,
which I would recommend to anybody who's doing any service. Just throw up a few videos so that they could watch
yeah,
it or re-engage with you in another way while you're not physically present on the phone with them, texting. I don't care what business it is. Find another avenue for them to learn or get benefits from you is what I advise. But okay, so keep going.
yeah. Add value. I mean, that's exactly it. Like I want. it's not like everything was like super good hearted. I mean, I tried to be a good person, but I love to make money. So it was really just to make sure I could spend more time training more people to make more money. Answering less questions means more time training more
Hmm.
clients. And it wasn't until I met Josh Brina. I don't know if you know his YouTube channel. So he's one of the OG volleyball jump training YouTubers. He's also a local guy and actually coached him for a little bit in high school. But he had a natural 40-inch vertical, and
Gosh.
he came to me like pretty injured, and he was like, I'm tired of getting injured, and I love volleyball. How do I, work on those aspects? So I did a 4-week training block, and he improved his vertical in 4 inches in just 4 weeks. So we went from like a 40-inch vertical natural to like 43 or 44 when we
Yikes.
tested him. And he was already doing some training on his own, but I helped him get started with that aspect and showed him a structure. And now he's very knowledgeable on his own. I mean, he's increased his vertical even more.
I don't
But he
think
was the
people
one that helped me
recognize
get
how
started because he
insane.
was already getting paid at the time.
Do you know how insane a
And
40-inch vertical is? Like,
natural.
people don't understand that. They say like, "Oh yeah, 40-inch vertical, 40-inch vertical." It's insane. There might
Yeah.
be maybe 3 guys on the AVP who have a 40-inch, maybe, and these are the top jumpers.
Uh-huh.
Gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then he pops even more after your program. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. That was just from like probably just some neural activation and proving some mechanics and helping to be able to land with less injury. So when you absorb more force, your body wants to produce more force safely. And he told me because he had a channel at that time was just uploading a lot of highlight videos. He had a really cool editing style, and he said, "Yeah, I make some money off of YouTube." And to me, I was like, "Wait, you can make money off of YouTube?" So then I thought, "Oh, maybe this is another opportunity to generate income." So started uploading videos, and that eventually just blew up over time. After a year, it was like the overnight success took about 3 years. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
Before the income was dependable.
Okay.
And then kind of the YouTube channel became about 50% of the focus of the company. And then from there, the other half was volleyball camps, leagues, tournaments, private lessons, things like that. So that's where it was in the middle. And then now the company, I would say, is about 30% of 3 categories.
Hmm.
So 30% coaching aspect, 30% content creation, and then 30% online programs.
Nice.
Actually, yeah. Now, right now, I would say the affiliate programs are probably around 10% of the revenue, about
Okay.
5 to 10% of the revenue, but the major distribution are those 3 aspects. So that's essentially what Elevate is as a
I have a
business.
question for you as far as the YouTube goes. Uh, at what point, how many years or months after uploading your first video with that knowledge, knowing like, oh wait, there can be money made on it, were you or are you yet making a at least a minimum wage income from YouTube ads? Because ours, I mean, currently we're in April, which is one of the times where it starts popping, and
Yeah.
I 100% know. Yeah, I've dedicated 5 years to this and spent lots of money on photographers and video editors. We're getting $523 a month this month, so it's nothing. But it what now I realize is that okay, we've created a thing that actually supports us, so it's forever marketing for us, and
Hmm.
that's given us the popularity to be able to run big camps and do our online programs. But to say that we make money from YouTube is 100% a losing prospect for us. The only thing that it has done has been marketing, but pretty expensive marketing, not going to lie.
Yeah.
So at what point, or if at all, did it create at least a minimum wage?
Yeah. I would say after year 3, did a lot of the steamrolling happen to where I was able to depend on it be a little bit beyond minimum wage for a consistent source of income, where I was actually able to plan my life. Whereas, like, okay, how much more do I need to teach? And I would say
Huh,
3 years ago was when I started to transition teaching part time.
okay.
So my daytime job is a high school teacher. That allowed me time to coach, summers off to develop content and train people and stuff like that. But I would say I really started backing down from that about 4 years ago when I started teaching part time, when things became a lot more significant. So YouTube, out of all the, so I have my daytime job, which is now part time. I would say YouTube is around probably like 30% of that. So my
Okay.
teaching salary right now is 30 to 40%. And then YouTube, specifically YouTube income ad revenue, about 30%. And then the middle 20 to 30% is affiliates, um, online programs, and in-person coaching. So at this point, it's livable, but I haven't made the move to go full time and quit my daytime job. Um, I was actually planning to do that this coming year because the things were continuing to trend upward, but the economy is not looking too hot.
It's a little shaky, right? It's
And
like let's hustle for
yeah,
a few more years. Yeah.
and I generally have a really high risk appetite. Like I can handle a lot of risk. I can live on Cheerios and live in a garbage can if that means getting me closer to where I want to get to. My wife is on the opposite. She's incredibly supportive of my business, but she is a lot more conservative in that aspect. And being married, the biggest change for me is like it's not about me only; it's about us. So I have to be really thoughtful about knowing how my decisions impact another person.
Mhm.
So I think that's been the best decision to just maybe get one more year of teaching and really build the business even more, and then I could probably go full time in about a year.
Great. When you're approaching, so we've got the ad income. When that became at least close to minimum wage, how many subscribers did that take you? Do you know how many videos you had posted at that time? And now I know, a lot of like this Sean Connell, if you see his from Think Media, giant YouTube channel, he talks
Yeah.
about amount of subscribers is a complete vanity metric, which I don't know. You need at least 1,000 on YouTube to be able to start earning money, and then the
Hmm.
number one thing that earns you ad income is watch time, because it
Yeah.
allows people to insert ads over yours. And if people don't watch your videos for long, ads don't have a chance to run, which means no one's paying for your videos. So for those of you
Yeah.
who are new to YouTube, you need at least 1,000 subscribers, and you need watch time. So even if you just hired 1,000 people to subscribe, but nobody's watching, you still can't earn anything because they need interest and they need to be glued to your video. So for
Hmm.
you, um, about what subscribership, or do you remember the watch time that you had then? And you said 600,000 now. Do you know what your watch time is now?
Um, when I was able to make at least minimum wage, like consistently each month, um, I would say probably around the 80,000 to 90,000 subscriber mark. But it was mainly due to only a few videos.
Hmm.
So I had probably a couple hundred videos lined up. Probably more than that.
A couple
But there was
hundred.
a couple hundred videos. Now they weren't all tutorial videos because that's when I started posting games of me playing at our local men's volleyball
Mhm.
league, which were very modest in performance. But it was a few key videos. Like one of them was this Norseca video I had a chance to record. So there was a semi-professional league that was started by USA Volleyball, and it's called the PVL. And so I was on a PVL team, and they would combine our PVL tournaments with Norseca and like junior boys nationals to try to get viewership from all three.
Good.
So by chance, I happened to record one of those games, and there were 8 going on total between like Canada, USA, Cuba, and Mexico. And that video, for whatever reason, it just went crazy. Like right now, it has 14 million
Oh
views.
my god.
But that video alone, I think, probably has, I mean, it probably generated over $10,000 total just from that video.
From you.
And then from that
I'm
video,
not
it
gonna
just
say from you
attracted.
just like setting up a camera and doing nothing because you had the hundreds of other videos already. So I
Yeah,
think the last time we talked, you mentioned that once they hit that video, then they saw the rest of your videos because if they spent
yeah,
time watching it, now they're into your ecosystem and YouTube feeds them your other videos, which they're like,
yeah,
oh man, super valuable stuff. But they didn't find
yeah,
it until you drew them in with a men's match. That's
yeah, yeah.
crazy.
And from there, they directly clicked on links to my tutorial videos because, like, oh, this looks cool. Maybe I want to learn how to do it. And then that was also gained a lot of international reach because it was a international event. And I kick myself all the time because I had an iPhone 5 and I was only recording at 720p because I didn't have a good. So I recorded that and I captured like the perfect angle, just because I thought, well, this would be a cool angle to watch at. But I imagine if I recorded all 8 matches,
Maybe,
what would have happened?
maybe, or the algorithm would have, been one
Yeah.
tick away. I mean,
Uh huh.
sure, kick yourself, but just be stoked that it hit. So many people
Yeah.
attempt to chase the virality, and I know that we're kind of in that spot. It's like, I feel like I'm a pretty boring teacher. We'd love to be more entertaining and pull people in, like you said, like get a match, get something that people just want to enjoy. Our channel for years was only, hey, you want to learn. But
Mm.
people really inherently, they don't want to learn. They want to be entertained, and then the
Yeah.
hungry ones that will actually pay because you've cast such a big net that allows everybody. Now through your entertainment, you've caught a bunch of your nice learners that might actually
Yeah.
pay for a program. Which is it's this is also a very different methodology than like the traditional like be a TikToker and just dance on camera. That's pure entertainment, and that's
Yeah.
again why somebody who's teaching nothing and knows nothing can still make $1 million just by
Hmm.
you know being entertaining. But
Yeah.
that's not the avenue that I want to chase. I actually want to give somebody value, not numb their minds.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that was the inflection point on my channel, just below 100,000 subscribers. Now, I do know of other creators that their inflection point was at 5,000 or 10,000, like especially for these finance channels.
Mm,
They make so much money on not a lot of it, just because the ad revenue per click is so much higher. And people who watch finance are usually looking to watch the entire video because it's pertinent to their life. It's like life threatening, right? They don't understand this. They're going to make a poor financial decision. For volleyball like us, it's optional. It's like, oh, I could watch this on my lunch break and then click out of it.
mm.
Like people who are looking for financial information are pretty already at a pretty important point of their life where they're ready to make a decision.
Could you explain what you mean by cost per click for anyone who doesn't know?
Sure. So there's a really cool metric on a lot of these platforms, and for YouTube specifically, they take an average of. So you have the ad company, you have YouTube, then you have the creator. The ad company pays YouTube to put ads on your video. And if someone clicks on the ad, then you get a split commission. So if YouTube pays 55%, I think, at the time to the creator. So maybe McDonald's wants to put an ad for on your video, and they'll say for every click, we'll give you $1. YouTube takes 45 cents, you take 55 cents. And so that is going to be per that. And then there's another metric where it's cost per thousand views, which is another really cool metric. I don't know what I think mine might be. I haven't looked at it in a long
Mm.
time.
And we're in a unfortunately, like whether you want to call us intelligent or not, uh, volleyball and definitely beach volleyball are pretty low on the cost per click because there
Yeah,
aren't a lot of companies that are making significant levels of money to the point where it would be even worth them paying $50 if somebody could just see their website, click on their
yeah,
ads, right? That's what they're
yeah,
chasing. They're just like, can we get somebody interested enough to get to our website? And if you're an
yeah,
insurance company or, like you said, financial industry, those companies, will pay big bucks just to get somebody to click, and then they can
Yep.
follow them through cookies for the rest of their life.
Yep.
So they just needed that little lead. Volleyball, beach volleyball, they, like you said, aren't people don't feel like they're life threatening necessities. And for companies who are trying to sell stuff, what's the most that you could spend in volleyball? $1,000 on a net system. And I don't think people who are shopping for net systems are really watching highlight videos. They would go for that. But either way, there's two net system makers in the country, probably,
Yeah.
right? So they don't have a
Yeah.
lot of competition anyway. So in my mind, I am like looking at myself, past self, and going, not crazy smart, but you followed your heart because beach
Yeah.
volleyball is not a high cost per click type thing. So if you are chasing this, yeah, you can make money. Yeah, you can do full time. But if you're thinking about just wanting to get into YouTube and make content, I would say number one, you have to know that it's going to take time and you have to be
Hmm.
passionate enough about it to do it in the dark with no money for 3 years before anything ever happens.
Yeah.
And then, two, secondary, are you choosing a segment of people that companies would pay big bucks to have your ad on? And that could be a faster way to get gross revenue, I would say. Would
Yeah.
you agree with that?
Yeah. I think that's a pretty fair assessment. And I think the angle to take too is thinking broader from your discipline and what related businesses can you take advantage of. So nutrition companies, right? Nutrition and exercise equipment in general, there's always great ways to tie it in. Like one video I know I can always bank on that's going to make money from ads is just how to jump higher. Like that topic never gets old. And you look at the companies that are paying for ads, it's weightlifting equipment, gym memberships, all that stuff.
Mm.
That is a much bigger, more lucrative industry. And nutrition companies, other than just specific volleyball. So that's also helped me choose affiliate. Like one of my most recent business partners that I've chosen this year is Go Sleeves, which is a athletic sleeve company.
Okay.
So they actually make sleeves mainly for runners and CrossFit athletes. But I just had a chance to try them on and I love them. And so we're in the works of trying to adopt them for volleyball athletes. But we've already sold so many units through my affiliate link just because I promote them as products just for overall health. Like I even wear them when I'm coaching because I don't know if like I get more sore from coaching than I do playing. Just standing is brutal.
We did a Whoop assessment. So Brandon, our partner, he he wore a Whoop during coaching and then wore one for his actual pro AVP 2 hour practice.
Uh
He
huh.
burned like 50% more calories coaching than he did during
Uh
his
huh.
own training. And we go,
Uh huh.
oh, this is why I never won an AVP. This is crazy. Uh,
Yeah. So just like finding different angles, and I think people definitely connect with authenticity. And I'm not saying like we want to trick our audience to believe in us and then sell them anything. But I've learned that if I started a channel just purely from jump training, I always ask myself like, why the heck do people watch me? I'm not the best player in the world. Like I'm not the most animated. And I remember when I first started my channel, my friends would criticize me so much and say, "You're so monotonous. You need to be more animated." And I'm like, that's just not me. Like I would try it, and I just feel like a fool. I feel like a cartoon. And so I think people really, really connect with authenticity. And then once you connect with them, then any product you do promote, of course, like people are going to want willing to try it out. But I think that would probably be the best angle for people that are kind of streamlining a specialty to kind of broaden their scope beyond their discipline, but that's related to what they're promoting.
so I have a real serious question. The When you're making the choice between, because you have your YouTube channel and you have
Hmm.
online programs, and now you have volleyball camps that are coming up this summer. It's awesome, guys. If you do want to sign up for some of his volleyball camps, and these are just it's 30 minutes south of San Francisco, right? These
Yeah.
are indoor camps, is that right?
Yeah. Indoor volleyball camps.
Okay.
Uh huh.
And we could go to elevateyourself.org to find those.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yep.
So it, you have all of those. What what does your brain have to go through to say, I would rather sell somebody else's affiliate link and dedicate a video to that, or I could spend the same amount of energy into in investing another video that would sell my program? Because for us,
Mm-hmm.
we started doing the affiliate road, and I started questioning everything. And I said, wait a second, we don't even know how to sell our own stuff yet. And we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to sell everybody else's. And I completely and 100% eliminated all sales for anybody else, all partnership chases, and said, we cannot be valuable to another company until we completely and 100% know ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
so we made that call. And still, I say, all right, it takes me some resources, time, and money to be able to create a video. why would I why would I not put that towards selling one of my programs or camps? Why would I give it to another company? So could you, I don't know, just talk about that decision making for a little while?
Yeah. Yeah. And if let me correct me if I misunderstand the question. So you're asking, I have my own services. How do I decide between selling some, like promoting someone else's product and my own, if there's like a conflict of interest?
Yeah, or even not a conflict. There's a conflict of your time, because say it takes you
Mm,
5 hours to film and edit a video.
yeah.
Would you rather use that 5 hours to try as hard as you can to get somebody to buy your programs, or to get somebody to buy somebody else's shoes or squat rack? You know.
Ah, I see. Okay. I think I understand now. Yeah. Yeah. I naturally always think, how much am I making per hour doing whatever I'm doing?
Mm.
So if I'm making a video and it's taking me 5 hours, but I know it's not going to kill it, like maybe it's only going to do, I don't know, make $30, for example, from YouTube ad revenue, cost per hour, $6 an hour, versus training a client. So I charge for private lessons, I charge $200 an hour. So like, okay, well, I can make more than that just from training one. I try to weigh out what's the long-term benefit. And so there's three things I think about: hourly costs, the most immediate impact. What's that going to take? Is there a long-term benefit to that? And then also, do I need this to feed my soul so I can continue to be passionate and the person that I need to be, where people want to buy stuff from me? Like people are like, I'm selling myself essentially, right?
Yeah.
So like one, so people, I don't know if you ever seen my ancient volleyball technique videos.
No,
It,
but now I
I
want
gotta
to.
send you a link.
Okay.
So when I edit videos, and I'm sure you experienced this when you started editing your own videos,
Never. I've never
you
edited one of my videos. I hate it.
oh really?
It's a it's a strong hatred for it. And so that's why,
Oh, I
like,
get it.
I've I constantly questioned how much I was putting into this, because I was paying 30, 40, 50, 60, and then sometimes $100 an hour, and you're just like,
Yeah.
this better have some kind of long-term benefit. But it,
Yeah,
no, it's why we got Jake on the background. I don't like editing
for
at
sure.
all.
You know, another business tip for that you're already practicing is, if you can find someone else to do a better job so you can spend your time doing higher quality thinking and decision making, you should always try to do that.
Mm.
That's always going to pay dividends if you can afford it. So that's great.
Definitely found that that's easier to say and understand, like easier to say than it is to understand and carry out. Because that was something
Yeah.
first year of business people told me, and I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then only in the last 2 years have I gotten a real tight grasp on that.
Hmm.
And now I'm trying to tell my brother, who's got a coffee business, and a few other people who are just starting their businesses, go like, no, 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 you're not going to be the one writing that email, or you're not going to be the one doing that. I go, have somebody look over your shoulders. If you want to do it the first 3 times, cool, but make sure that there's somebody over your shoulders and you're talking out loud while you're doing it, saying why you're doing
Yeah.
it, because they have to do it the next time.
Uh-huh.
And that's, me and Jake, our producer, have worked pretty well with that, but only because I finally understood this in the last 2 years. I don't want to go and ask people on Instagram or through email, hey, can we meet? What time can we meet? Blah, 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 blah. I don't want to
Yeah.
edit podcasts or create nuggets because I suck at it. It
Uh-huh.
takes me hours to come out with a D- project,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well,
Definitely. So ancient volleyball techniques, for those listeners who've been part of my channel for a while, I used to edit all my stuff in the beginning, and I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed editing videos. But as you're editing videos, you stare at the screen for so long that you capture these weird moments. Like I remember, and things that people usually wouldn't put in a volleyball video. So, for example, I found someone picking their nose, like just in the corner, right? Not even related. And then there are these moments where like the ball is being served and then hits like the back of the knee, and the knee kind of wobbles funny.
huh.
It just looks so weird. So I created this compilation of videos called Ancient Volleyball Techniques, like these really weird things, or like something looked like a Mortal Kombat fatality. Like I remember someone happened to, like a bang bang volleyball play where like someone digs it, then someone chicken wings, and then someone has to react and like uppercuts the ball and then magically goes over. There's
Yeah.
just like weird moments like
Yeah.
that. It's stuff you wouldn't put in a highlight video, but those are like my favorite low lights. So I remember synchronizing someone's uppercut with like a Mortal Kombat fatality uppercut, and it was just, and like I just thought those are the funniest things, and those videos would always get like below 5,000 views,
Oh,
and would take me 6 or 7 hours to edit because you just have to make it perfect to really get the joke across. But that would just make me so happy for the entire week that I just had limitless energy to train 10 more clients. So that was the
huh.
cost benefit for that one. That fed my soul.
Okay, that's fun. We got an editor like that, Chad, who so much of his work doesn't do much for us, but he goes, "It's so sick," and like he loves it.
Yep.
You come out and you do look at it and you go, "This is awesome."
Yeah.
Now that you're happy, let's try to create something that teaches or sells.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to have him because I don't feel like I have that type of creativity.
Mm,
The entertainment creativity. I get an idea, I can say it vocally, but for me to then figure out a way to go and grab a meme or a video, put letters on it, and then post it,
yeah.
not my flavor.
Yeah. No, I get it. So I would say 50% of the decisions are always what's going to pay the bills now. So
Okay.
what are the minimum number of clients I need to train to pay the bills, and what videos need to be made that are going to get high viewership and low editing hours.
Mm,
And then whatever is left over from there, I kind of play around with, well, what's going to be a long-term benefit that might pay off 3 years from now or 2 years from now? And then what can I really play around with and just simply have fun? And so I got to make sure that the bills are paid first, and then whatever's left over, then we think about long-term projects, and then the fun stuff after that. So that's kind of how I navigate my decision making.
okay. But it's still, how do you predict, let's just say that you want to create a program where I, I don't know the numbers. So you get $100 if you sell a squat rack. So you want to do let's just say a squat rack review and how it relates to vertical jump and volleyball players, or
Yeah.
you want to get 5 clients over time from a video. Which decision are you making? Because they can be similar videos, like teaching about
Hmm.
squat racks or jumping, same editing hours, or
Yeah.
similar editing hours. So how do you allow yourself to sell somebody else's thing, or do you just want to say I need a diverse universe of income, so it helps me to get a relationship with somebody else, and I haven't done one in a while, or I haven't done a recommendation video in a while. I'm asking because I personally just struggle with it. I personally just like,
Yeah.
I wish we could do great affiliate marketing,
Hmm.
but I don't think we're doing a good enough job of getting our own thing done yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say the what you said about having a diverse stream of income, because what I found is that things that make the immediate money, if I focus too much on that all the time,
Mm.
there is no residual. And like things get very, it's kind of, I operate too much with a sense of urgency, because if I don't have the clients, then like the money stops.
Yeah.
So I do try to somehow just trust that having all aspects are going to eventually pay off over time eventually. So I have my immediate money now, something long term. And even if it's a competing product, I think that like one thing I'm a belief in, for whenever people ask me about jump training, I'm happy to promote other people's products that I believe in, like PGF
Mm.
Performance, Project PPA. And I think people appreciate that. One, that gets more trust, because when I can be honest and say, hey, you should also get this guy's program, I think long term, when you get the reputation that you just are always going to create authentic material and the things you do are going to be good, then also I think that creates trust where people are eventually going to buy your programs anyway.
100%. And I think even so with that, like it's why I always, also promote Sam Pedlow, the strength. Oh my God, how's his name slipping me? But the volleyball strength coach. I send people to your channel, and it's especially for workout programs. People just naturally get bored of the same workout program. So
Yeah,
if you just give them a good vibe, at some point they're gonna make their rounds of all of the volleyball players' vertical jump programs,
yeah,
because we're all heavily in there on Instagram, so we're always going to be present of mind. And all right, I did that one for last season. I want to try a new one. They
hmm,
naturally get bored. They shouldn't really. Basics always still work, but it's a fact of life. So just
yeah,
give them a good vibe and tell them who you would trust if you didn't have your own program. It becomes a good
yeah,
relationship.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Okay. Now Jake's telling me you're finally building your team. We went opposite routes on this, right? You did everything on your own early in terms of content creation. I am still fighting daily to say I want to show up in front of a camera, have somebody ask me questions or talk to somebody, and that's it. Don't even want to like test volume
yeah,
or press record. Um,
yeah,
so we went opposite on the content creation, but now you're creating a team. So tell me about your first hire and when and why.
yeah. So I wish I would have created a team earlier, and I think I was the one of the few moments where I was afraid of the growth and the risk in the beginning was probably, so let's see, 5 years ago was when the income became significant enough from YouTube ad revenue for me to start thinking like, okay, I can either hire somebody or I can grow and just take it for myself and just enjoy the extra income. Because at that time I was saving up for a house.
Mm.
I was living in a condo that I bought, and then I was like, well, I want to, and then I got married like 7 years ago. So a lot of these big life changes, but I definitely should have made that move earlier, because I was my own. I don't know what you call that. I was my own. It's a very common
Bottleneck.
analogy for bottleneck.
Okay,
There you
yeah,
go. Thank you.
I know it
I was
well.
my own and like I was my own bottleneck, because I was like, I if I can, the way you start a lot of successful businesses is doing everything yourself, because then you just it's just cheap and you learn the business in and out. But that quickly becomes a bottleneck because you can only do so many hours per day, right? So I would say I was my own bottleneck for probably, prior to my first hire, probably 2 years, where the business wasn't really growing as fast as I knew it could, and it just became more about making videos versus creating new concepts, new projects. Like I only had one program at the time, and I knew I wanted to publish so many more training programs. I wanted to start a podcast, but I just couldn't, because I hadn't made sure I pumped out videos.
Do you
So
have a
a
podcast
year
now?
and a half was
Do you have
that?
a podcast now?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
No, no. So that's kind of one of the many projects that I haven't started yet, but still trying to get my staff kind of self sufficient.
If you want, after this, and anybody else, if you want to contact me, but I worked on it with my brother as well. Me and Jake created our like 0 to 100 step by step process for
Okay.
uh, getting somebody from inviting them to getting them when to show up to signing up for Calendly so that the appointments are auto booked and they get text reminders and email reminders and
Yeah,
everything. So if you want, I could share that with you off the show. We have our top to bottom, like step by step, extremely detailed list for every tool we have, and uh, yeah, and the whole process. So if you're going down that route, I think it could be a nice little quicker cheat code if you're interested.
for sure. And you've already got a really good thing going. So this is the test has already been completed. So I appreciate the offer. I'll definitely take you up on that when that time
Cool.
comes. So a year and a half ago, I had my first video editor, and I was so nervous because like, who do I hire? Do I go to Fiverr and test out somebody and then hire someone permanently? Do I put on Craigslist, whatever? And I at that time I was interacting more with Victoria Garrick.
Yeah.
So her channel was more volleyball oriented before she became full-fledged body image self-help stuff, which is great if you have a chance to check out her channel, Victoria Garrick. But we had the chance to do some collaborations, and her business was booming. Like, she was just growing so fast. It's huge now, and she's got like 4 or 5 full-time people working for her. And I asked her, like, how did you get your first hire? Because your team is just on point. I had a chance to schedule like you did with Jake. I was like, it was such a great experience when I scheduled with her. It was like so
Mm.
streamlined. And she says she recommended hiring from within. And she says, even kind of like what you did with Jake, like, whether most likely you can probably go to an agency or something like that where these people are going to be super polished. They're going to get like a very good product out. But if they don't care for your brand, they're not going to grow with you, right? It's not to say they're bad people, but they're kind of be one and done, move on.
Mm.
And so try reaching out to your audience. So that's what I did. I put out an advertisement saying, we're looking for a video editor, and we got 150 applications
Oh.
for video editor. It was nuts. And I continued to get more. So probably a total of 200 total. I put a post on Instagram and YouTube. And so it was such a fun and exhilarating process to watch like 150 applications of video content of people creating examples. Because I created some guidelines, like I uploaded some raw footage and I said, make a 30-second vlog based on this.
Ah, well, yeah, we
Um,
did that the exact same way. I
okay.
run my video editor tests by here's some raw video, do
Yep.
something sick with it. You know,
Yeah. Exactly it.
and sometimes
Uh huh.
I've run it paid, and sometimes I've just run it for free, like a tryout process. But
Yeah.
do you remember the how you worded the post? Was it as simple as, because this is what I do? It can be as simple as, I'm looking for somebody who absolutely can annihilate Google AdWords and knows volleyball players, and volleyball languages. Um, that's it. DM
Yeah.
me if you want to talk further, and then I
Yeah.
give them what their responsibilities would be. But
Yeah.
did you do it the same? Was it so simple to just post to your network? Easy. We need a video editor, or what did you say in that ad, so to say?
Yeah, I remember I put it in 2 categories. I said looking for a video editor to edit my videos, and then I put professional standards first. Responds within a day. Like, just, I mean, basic to us, but probably not to a lot of people. Can communicate in a considerate way, willing to take risks, things like that. And then I put technical standards, proficient in Final Cut Pro or Premiere or something like that, and then instructions for how to submit the resume. So it was pretty objective, and then maybe the opening statement was with some emojis and something more fun. But then after that, it was all business, and then instructions on where to email it. And then when people email the resume, I remember 50 of them I didn't even look at because they didn't follow instructions. And I don't want to spend my time having to always remind someone how to do something really simple.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that on purpose because it's not that I'm trying to play tricks on people, but I have, say, list your resume in this order. And if they can't do that, or if they don't name the file name in a professional way, like if it's just, hey, right? That, I want to, my goal is to try to create habits within the company that can scale, and good habits are always going to scale better. So that cut out half the resumes pretty easily.
I do
And then
something
within those seven,
to really similar, but I like somewhere in the middle of like the two, three, or fourth paragraph, I
yeah,
go, make sure you respond to me with the word knife, just like anything, just
the
so
code
that I
word.
know that you actually read it. And anybody, and I still
Yeah,
do it like with the people who work for me, I'll hide it in
yeah,
there and I go, you used to be detail oriented. Now you're getting lazy. So now we got to have a conversation.
uh-huh.
So that's something that I still do. So if you guys ever get a letter
Interesting.
from me, you better read.
Yeah, yeah, and I get that, because it's, you want to attract people that are going to be detail oriented, right?
Yes.
And I've put up front that, like, in the beginning, I'm not able to pay you that much, but if you stick with me, I'll make sure as we grow, you're going to grow financially with the company, right? You're either going to get raises, you're going to get bonuses, things along those lines. And because my goal is, I want people that care about the brand. And so, first couple hires were exactly that. So my first hire was really great in terms of the video editing, very easy to work with. And then once I got the taste of that freedom to just do other things, I kind of went nuts. Then I went on a hiring spree. I hired like three more people. So I scaled too fast, and that's when I realized, like, shoot, I can't. I actually don't even have time to train these people, and so I had to answer a lot of same questions. We ran into a lot of same problems. So I had to scale back a little bit. So now we have one full time and three part time staff.
Okay.
So now I can actually have time to review their work and train them. And now they're pretty self sufficient for the most part.
How did you decide on their pay scales? Because I know what, we had one person who uh, I was very upfront with what I could pay her. And I was like, this is what I expect. And then hopefully if it works out, it becomes a full-time thing. And then two different people said, oh, well, average for this role is $108,000, blah, blah. And I go, what do you think I am? Like, I understand what the average for that role is, but
Yeah.
you see the business, like you've seen every backside of it. There's no way that I could possibly afford that unless you've shown me that in your 1 month tryout, you brought in 50 G's. Like,
Yeah.
cool. Then
Yeah.
yeah, I'll pay you. But people will ask for these things that you're just going, there's a clear lack of understanding of small business versus corporations,
Yeah.
and those pay scales, no, they don't line up. But I'll always pay people what they're worth, what they're earning, and because I just love working with them, increase. But then there's also, yeah, I think some of my roles have been overstepped, like you, where I wanted to grow, 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 and I hoped, one of my advisors cautioned me against this. I just didn't listen to him. Uh, but I paid people more than our income could sustain, with
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
hopes that they would create that revenue instead of
Yeah.
we had the revenue to afford that. And
Yeah.
now we have to backstep, which is, it kills me in my heart. But at the same time, you have to grow and you have to earn your spot. This is sports. This is business. You
Yeah.
gotta earn your spot, and
Yeah.
that's where we're going
I,
right now.
I went through something identical this past year. So one thing that was crazy was the Haiku videos. Have you watched any of the Haiku
I
videos?
finally took your advice from 4 years ago, um, and we put out one reaction video. Uh,
Uh-huh.
it was the most fun that I've had, just sitting here talking. And then we have another one filmed with me and my wife, and we did it in a way where, since she doesn't play a lot of volleyball, I explained to her, like, was part of my history along the way,
Yeah.
and she asks
Hmm.
really good questions because she knows enough about volleyball, but not
Yeah.
enough about volleyball. So that one's coming out in a few weeks. But um, no, we didn't really capture Haiku Nation yet, like you did.
Okay, it'll catch. I'll try to send some traffic. Send me the link to that video. I'll try to send some traffic, but
Okay.
it's it's a crazy audience that's highly loyal, and the watch time is like 60 to 70% of the video. It is nuts.
Gosh.
Yeah, the retention is super high with this crowd.
Mm.
For like a 30-minute video, it's pretty nice. So that was another inflection point of the business. It was like a perfect storm between pandemic where people are at home, companies still had good
Mm.
marketing because they knew people were at home, and then high Q. So the ad revenue doubled just from the high Q videos.
How many videos did it take?
And
Like you put reaction videos out. Basically, you're watching a highly edited and shaded part of that video, so you don't get the copyright strike,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Uh-huh.
Um, and how many videos did it take for them to just Haiku Nation to go on fire with it?
I think just that first one, because the fans were bugging me for so long.
Okay.
Like I just had, and I think because the Norseka video from 6 years prior to that, a lot of Haikyuu fans. So that's when Haikyuu just came out. So
Mm,
that was that perfect storm.
okay.
A really cool video. Haikyuu fans, they started there, then they stayed on my channel, and they kept bugging me about Haikyuu. And then I think also because maybe because I'm Asian and a volleyball player, there's like an association with anime, whatever. I don't,
Maybe,
there's just
but
something.
even so, I see Sarah Pavin
Sarah
and
Pavin,
Shoji. Um, they're they've got what 6 seasons of reaction videos, and
yeah,
all of those they're easy to make because you don't have to put in all the creativity. You just press pause and talk for a little bit.
yeah,
Uh,
uh-huh.
but pretty. That's right now like the highest value in terms of making a video that we can think of. So we're doing it.
It is.
Yeah.
So so that doubled the revenue for like almost 2 years. Pretty much
Wow.
it took me 2 years to watch 4 seasons, and I just thought, oh, this gravy train is going to keep going. But then season 5 never came out,
Hmm.
and that's when it ended. And then there was still some good residual from a lot of the original videos, but eventually it went back down to almost the same prior to that. Like it's still a little bit higher than before, but I made a lot of my decisions based on those 2 years.
Huh.
So I scaled people to full time too quickly, and then over time, I ended up spending more than I was making, and that was a pretty scary period. And on top of that, my Facebook page, which was starting to get a good amount of income, got deleted for some copyright stuff that they didn't have a good appeal process,
They still
and
don't.
so
We have
yeah, they suck.
lost our Facebook ads for
Ah,
4 weeks now. We
oh
got
man,
booted from Instagram for another copyright. They don't have a good appeals process.
yeah,
We lost our YouTube channel 3 months ago for I think 2 weeks, and you're just like, this is all a nightmare, and this is why I encourage everybody to go on multiple platforms. Whatever you
yes,
record,
diversify.
throw it. And I see that. I don't know if you've been doing it for a while, but I see that you're definitely doing it now. Where I see a lot more of you on Instagram and your videos, and I'm like, nice,
Hmm.
good. He's brought it over here. Um, but yeah, but now we're even growing two Instagram channels at the same time. So we're just doing twin posts
Yeah,
because
just in
yeah,
case.
if you're gonna put that energy in, all it is copy paste,
Yeah,
and one of them will get eliminated so long as it's under a different email address. At least you still got something.
yeah,
Oh man.
yeah.
Anyway.
So that's the tragedy of scaling too quickly. So I had to convert a lot of them to part time, which was tough. And then we had to scale back our pay scale and our bonus structure to where until we started increasing again, we had to stop some of the bonuses that which I really wanted to give our employees because I try to reward them when they, especially since I'm not paying them the corporate standard. I want to make sure that at least I'm rewarding them in some capacity. But that's the best part about what Victoria Garrick talked to me about was hiring from within. Like people really want to just be a part of your company because they care about what you do. And for them, that's going to be the ultimate motivation. And I'll never take advantage of that. Like I won't say, hey, I'm going to keep you down here because you care type of thing. But during tough times like this, where financially we had to scale back, they were so understanding about what that is. And I try to be transparent with our earnings. But I also gave them the promise that as soon as we start increasing, we're bringing all that back. I'm giving bonuses again, and I want to make sure I'm going to pay you as well as we can to stay afloat and to continue to grow.
Could you give
So
a
that's where we're at right
could
now.
you give one example of a bonus? What that individual or your company, is it based on what the individual or the company does? And just one example of a incentive, whether you want to give a number or a
Yeah.
surprise or something.
So I did a lot of research on corporate structure in terms of what habits do you want to build that you can apply to 20, 30, 40 employees in the
Mm,
future. And so quarterly reviews is a pretty standard practice, and it's a good way to check in with people. And the way I conducted quarterly reviews was I try to make it two-way. First, I always ask them, how can I be a better boss for you? Like, what can I do to be better for you?
good man.
And then I give them my review of them. And then we have a three-tier system where it's below standard, it's meeting standard, or exceeding standard. And your bonuses are based on those three metrics. And the metrics are pretty black and white. Like you are responding within 24 hours through messaging. Um, it takes less than two corrections to fix something. And then
Permanently.
the exceeding
To
standard,
fix
one
something
example is
permanently.
like,
Yeah.
or that,
To fix something permanently, like to the point where you
yes,
don't have to do it again another month later.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then example of exceeding standard is solving own problems. Because I encourage them to reach out to me, but are tell me three solutions you tried first. And if you're doing that, I don't care if it fails. I want you to at least try. And so it's if they below standard, they don't get a bonus. If they're meeting standard, it's 8 times their hourly salary. And then if it's exceeding standards, it's 16 times their hourly salary.
Oh, so like one payment of 8 times 1 hour or 16 times
Yeah,
1 hour.
yeah. And then
That's
if they earn 4 quarters of what we call level 3
mhm.
performance, then they get a pay raise. And so incentivize them to try to get total. So maybe you got level 3 1 quarter and then level 2 another quarter. And we talk about how we can get you back to level 3. Then total every level 3, then you get some type of raise.
Okay.
And so I try to create that type of pay structure um, for one to just reward great work,
Yeah.
but to incent I just people work better with incentives, right?
KPIs to me have been hard. We finally really have a good, reliable system of what we need out of each person and what
Hmm.
numbers represent things for us. But even something like SEO, search engine optimization, like how many people are landing on our page or one of our pages when they search, then diving into the abyss of what's the value of that, and then okay, now how can I pay or bonus that, has been very difficult on me. And at some
Yeah,
point you just like the logo, it's all right, this is what I think it would be incentivizing enough that I could still afford, and it wouldn't hurt me or pain me to give it away, where I thought that it was like a major loss, that I want to reward, but it also doesn't hurt me. And
yeah.
we like our KPI system now. And the same thing with Jake, our podcast producer. Like, we spent a lot of time working on how we were going to pay him, because we have not monetized our podcast. We have not monetized the other podcast, Entrepreneur Athlete, but I know I want it to grow, and at some point it will. So we just set a standard of has to have this many downloads. Jake, do I care how you get people to listen to it? No, you just got to get people to listen to it. Let me know all the ways that you tried, and if I come up with something more brilliant than you, cool, we'll implement it. And then stuff that I don't enjoy doing as well, like searching out ads and sponsorships and like commercializing putting commercials onto it. I'm sure that there are networks and systems for podcasts that people, you can just insert an automatic commercial. I didn't want to spend the 4 days researching that. So we just put a bonus structure into that. And if Jake hits a certain amount of downloads, certain amount of ads revenue, and we make sure that we put out 2 podcasts a week, if we meet all of those, boom, then he's hit, each one has a bounty, and then that's the level that he'll get paid. So it's completely and 100% performance based, which to me as an athlete, as a coach, really fair.
Yeah.
And he knows that I'm not ignoring him and saying, there you go, throwing you into the fire. Like, we have lots of conversations in text, and
Yeah.
and the training part and deciding on that, it's a lot of energy and time up front, but it's worth it if you hired from within and you already
Yeah.
know that you like this person. Like, me and him had one dinner together and we instantly got along. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of wins there.
For sure.
And it prevents me from being a subjective jerk, right?
Hmm.
Where it's, here you go. The numbers are black and white. You hit it or you don't. And it's not on me judging your performance. It's on the numbers judging the performance. So
Yeah.
I'm a bit happier with where, compared to years ago, all of our employees and part times and contractors have their KPIs.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that
No, that's
bonus
great.
structure, the 8 or 16 times. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where I even got that from. I think I was just thinking, what would I feel like what I can afford, and then what would seem significant enough for me if I was working for somebody to feel like, okay, I got a really decent pat on the back.
Yeah. And to those bosses out there who are trying to figure that out, know that no matter how much you search and do things, you can search it, but at some point you're just going to have to decide, yeah, I think that's reasonable. And if you overstep, 2 months later, 3 months later, you bring it back to the point of reasonable. Like, you're gonna screw up, but put it into place, write it down, make sure everybody sees it. And if it's too little, it doesn't work as an incentive, or they're like, that's meaningless to me. All right, change it. If to you it really hurt, make sure you stick to your word, give them the bonus, but let them know that we're changing the system. Every
Yeah.
business has to change constantly, and if you don't change, you're just not growing, period. So
Hmm.
employees, especially in small businesses, I think they have to be the ones that understand that you have to be constantly adaptable, just like any athlete.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing I'll add to that payment structure is encouragement, affirmation. Like, sounds kind of cheesy, but I found a direct correlation with motivation, flexibility, understanding when I try to acknowledge the great things that my employees do, as small as it is, like, hey, thanks for the text, thanks for the reminder on the upload, or like, man, you really killed it in this edit here. And I do mean it. It's not just being facetious, but like those really go a long way. And I actually learned this from my dad as a business owner. So he owned a print shop. He couldn't pay his employees a lot. I mean, he paid them as well as he could. People had families and they supported themselves and things like that. But he had people that worked for him for like 15 or 20 or 30 years. And to me, that always blew my mind because growing up in a big city, it's very normal to have turnover every 2 to 5 years,
Yeah.
something like that. But he just had these people that were incredibly loyal. And during the last recession in 2008, he had to shut down one of his locations and he had to scale back a lot. And the amount of people that stuck with him by his side to still work at reduced hours, maybe reduced pay, to just hunker down during that time was incredible. And if he couldn't afford to give bonuses, I remember this one employee. He heard that his dryer, like his dryer, broke, and so my dad somehow had a spare one. He just buys old stuff and keeps it, right? He just gave him one. And then there's another person where he let them borrow like one of the company cars to use while their car got fixed. He cooked. He likes to cook, so he cooked a lot of lunches for his employees, and just always found ways to show his appreciation, for the people that work for him.
Mm.
And I think that goes a long way. And I I've never been a fan of like top down leadership. Like ultimately the owners need to have the final say and need to be firm when needed. But like when you make people feel like they're a part of the process and recognizing what they do, I think that goes such a long way.
Do you ever feel bad about holding other adults as an adult to a standard when they're not getting it done to the level that they need to? You know, because sometimes employees, like, there's a separation, but sometimes employees become your friend, and there has to be a, it's not getting done, and it
Yeah.
needs to get done this way, because ultimately you as the employer, the entrepreneur, are the one who's in charge of the vision, steering the boat,
Yeah.
and if something's clunking along the way, that mechanic's got to fix it. And
Yeah.
y- I do personally, internally, I struggle with it. I think people think externally, I don't, but internally, it's like, man, I feel bad, but this sucks. We got to go.
Yeah.
And so I have to then be honest. And so then I go back to, the New York version of myself, and I get real stern, real quick. Uh, but in the good times, when everything's going great and when people are doing what they should and beyond what they should, I'm all about high fives and chest bumps,
Yeah.
but there has to be, I can't be everybody's buddy all the time if this is going to be a successful
Yeah, for
endeavor.
sure.
Do you struggle with that at all?
Yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately, I haven't had to have a lot. Like mainly in the beginning, that's when most of those conversations are had as I'm training people. But I think what the benefit of the encouragement is that it lays the groundwork for them to receive some of the criticism, and then having the structure of quarterly reviews gives the expectation like I am mentally ready to receive criticism because that's what the review is about. And then usually I have like if I have to remind somebody like once or twice, then I'll kind of say, hey, this has been happening a little bit more. Can you make sure you stay on top of this? So I've been lucky that after that's probably the firmest it's had to get for my staff um, before it gets to that point. And I try to put a lot of things in writing so that, and I create like checklists for my employees just to show that I'm trying to help them do their job well. So try to meet me halfway if I'm assisting you in this manner.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay. Hey, Donny, I don't want to take too much more of your time, but I do have just two more questions. Okay, and these are
sure.
some of my favorite questions. Uh, First one is, what do you think your biggest weakness or weaknesses are as a CEO, as the you know the pilot of that ship over there at Elevate Yourself?
Uh, I'll say I can speak to my current weakness. It's prioritizing what is the most important thing that needs to get done. And like my mind is always going at a million miles per hour. I'm managing, 10, 20 different ideas and projects in my head that I tend to just finish what is in the front of my mind first. And I need to do a better job of having a list prioritized in urgency and just knocking those out first and then leaving everything else in play, because then things just don't get done that way. Like the fun things get done
Yeah.
first, or maybe the thing that's causing me the most anxiety, which is not the most important, ends up getting done first, even though it's not even that important, right?
Mm,
So I'll say that's my biggest weakness right now.
nice. I have that similar, because you have your own business, right? So it's, you can literally take it any direction you want. But you
Yeah.
got to figure that out, which direction you're actually going to take it. So I started doing this list. I got a whiteboard in my office bedroom studio here, and it's got, anytime a good idea starts in here, or I like attack 10% of it, I write it on the big list, but then I have this hard line at the top, and I have today,
Mm.
and I just say, all right, what are the three, and I'm only allowed to write three things there in today.
Ah, that's good.
And so then I can see from my list, or anything that's going through my mind on that morning, what has to be done today, what's the most important thing today, and then I write it up there. And even if I finish one, you know, just crossing off markers on a whiteboard it feels so good. And then having it
Yeah.
written somewhere permanently instead of bunches of paper, it kind of
Hmm.
puts my mind at ease that I won't forget about that project. Because I think
Yeah.
that's half the battle of like, you have all the projects in your mind that you don't want to forget are there.
Yeah.
For me, having it written down somewhere, knowing we're going to attack that. Maybe not, today, maybe not next month or in a year, but that's one of the good ones that's going to get done at some point. It's just not necessary now.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like the three objectives up top and then the long list of never ending ideas on the bottom.
Mm.
Yeah.
I like that. I'll take that one. I think I've had the intention of having two priority lists, but then having a limit, because the priority list, if you don't manage it, it could be like 20. I'm going to get this done today. I just need to get done now. So I like that. Three. I'll start with that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Here you go. Take that to the bank. Priority is a funny word because priority literally means one, like the single most. And so when people say
Mm,
like, show me a list of your priorities, that's that's technically impossible with the word. Like it should be
hmm.
one single
Yeah.
focus. So it's funny that people have turned it into like what are our priorities today? It's like
Uh huh.
okay. The last question that I have is if today, right now, you could hire or inject yourself with any sort of talent or skill matrix style, or just hire the person that could do that to take your company to the next level, what would that hire be? Money's no object. They love you, they want to work for you completely for free, and they have whatever skill set you want them to have. What one person do you hire?
It would be a, I don't know, an agent, someone to procure like big sponsorships, big partnerships, and have a skill set to understand legal jargon.
Hmm.
So, one thing that once I go full time Elevate, my goal actually is to become an Under Armour athlete. Now, why Under Armour? Nike, all these other companies, I think they're all great. But something about Under Armour really attracts me. I think it's just because they have such an underdog mindset and they are an underdog company relative to Adidas and Nike. But I remember I was walking into a Sports Authority, no, not well, Dick's Sporting Goods now. They got bought out. Dick's Sporting Goods, and I saw The Rock on the wall as a sponsored Under Armour athlete. Now, I'm not saying I'm as big as The Rock, but to me, I just thought it was so awesome that a sports company would sponsor a non professional athlete. And I think that's where it's trending. Now, content creators are
More valuable.
getting into the mix,
Yeah.
right? So, but there's just something about that company. Like I want to create good coaching products for volleyball coaches. I want to create real volleyball shoes because volleyball shoes suck. They're just basketball shoes that have been adapted with lower technology more often than not.
That's funny.
Um,
I always choose volleyball shoes like Asics over basketball shoes because of how
uh-huh.
firm the agility, like the side to side, is. Every time I keep trying to shift over to basketball shoes because everybody goes, yeah, they put so much more money into basketball shoes and there's millions of dollars in research. For my feet, I can't move beyond volleyball shoes for agility and like hard stops and stuff. It's funny you say that, but like not sponsored in any way. But my Asics, I don't know if I'm ever gonna get away from them.
Do you have a basketball, like a shoe junkie friend that can kind of guide you through the process of testing the whole
Not
array?
at all.
If you can find somebody that understands basketball or just shoes in general and can find a good fit, you'll I think it'll be a game
Okay.
changer in terms of like, man, this, I didn't know a shoe could do this, because a lot of exactly what you just spoke to. I think loaded ground, good lateral
Low to the
support,
ground.
easy,
Yeah, where
good.
your heel's not rocking over that
Yeah.
high edge, and it's just like, nope. I know this
Yep.
is gonna be a sprain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think having an agent to help me navigate that, because I think I want to be a sponsored athlete, one, just so I can do it full time more, but I think that would just give me a greater platform. I want to partner with good companies, and I want to just spread the message bigger and to encompass the lifestyle of what that means. And I don't have the skill set to pursue a company like that. And I also don't have the legal aspect to make sure I'm not getting screwed over, right?
Right.
So I would say that's probably the most important hire for me in the near future.
Cool. Well, guys, if you're listening and you're an agent, you're an awesome negotiator, you know what it takes, or you think you know what it takes, reach out to Donny. You can find him at elevateyourself.org. And Donny, would you share? Of course, we know to look on YouTube for Elevate Yourself, but I'd also like you to share any Instagram or just maybe the best way to reach out if you want to share an email address or an Instagram or anything like that, for that rock star to come find you, or anyone who's got questions about your vertical jump programs, your volleyball programs, and anything else that they might want to ask you.
Yeah, I have two Instagrams. I have a personal one that unfortunately I actually don't respond to many messages. It's just me posting random stuff. But if you want to follow that, that's at Coach Donny. And then the one that is more on the business aspect that I respond to inquiries is Elevate Yourself Official. So that would be the best way to get in contact with me regarding anything like that. And then website has all the links to my jump training programs. And if you want to attend any camps, if you're a high school athlete or you're an adult athlete in the Bay Area, you can find links to those.
Awesome. 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 Don, I appreciate you for coming on so much. Good to know where you're at and how far you've come in the last few years. It's fun to come full circle, and I'm happy for you that you've got a team set up and that it just continues to grow. And it's really cool to see how many goals you still have, that it's unending. It's successful and unending, and you've made the pivots that you've had to at the right times, and that you've struggled just like so many, but figured out the answers. And you've done it with a good heart. So, from the volleyball world, 100% thank you for creating so much of that. And from the entrepreneurial world, sick. Congratulations. Yeah, pretty awesome stuff to see.
Thanks for the kind words. And it's a blessing to have a community of other content creator entrepreneurs like you that are passionate about what they do and always in the growth mindset and just it's just nice to know that other people are trying to do the same thing. That's always really encouraging for me.
Yeah, cool. All right, guys. And if you're listening and you do want any sport, business, coaching, leadership advice at the time of this filming, we don't have anything to offer you other than my free email list, where I send entrepreneurs and people who want to turn their fitness or athletic passion into a business. I just send out basically journal entries to that email list about things that I learned or things that I did that week. And if you want to check it out, just head over to athletic.startup.com. There are literally 2 pages on that website. One's an opt-in for that email list, and the other one is our podcast page. And if you love this episode, go ahead and give it a rating. Scroll down a little bit, give it a 5-star rating, subscribe, and definitely share it and our resources with your friends. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the sand, and I guess in the business room for the entrepreneur athletes. All right. Have a good day, everybody.